धन्यवाद धन्यवाद जय
धन्यवाद प्रणाम महाराज।
तुलसी
धन्यवाद
मंगल देवी हरि बोल धन्यवाद
धन्यवाद प्रणाम महाराज। धन्यवाद।
Hi हरि बोल so,
Haribol.
so nice to be with you Babu.
Same.
We're going to talk about Bhagavad Gita 342 today. Chapter 3, text 42. Okay,
You want me to share it now?
hold on a second.
Hold on.
How are you doing, Uma Devi? You're okay?
By your grace, I'm okay, Maharaj.
Oh,
You
very.
look good, Maharaj, now.
What happened?
You're looking very good now.
I'm looking good. By your. I'm so happy to see you. And
Thanks, Maharaj. I am also very happy to see you.
bright and smiling.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Enjoy Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurumar, Srila Gurudev, Srila Charidev ki jai.
Jai.
Hi.
Jai Vaishnavinda ki jai.
Jai.
Hi.
Jai.
Today I wanted to talk about one verse in the Bhagavad Gita. You all have heard the analogy of the chicken and egg, huh? The chicken and egg?
Yeah.
Which one comes first? The chicken or the egg?
No one knows.
Nobody knows. Well, if you don't have a chicken, then you can't get the egg, all right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have the egg, then the chicken comes from the egg. But then where did that egg come from? The chicken
Exactly.
comes from the egg, but then where does the egg? The egg has to come from a chicken. Then what happened? Well, if really when they have egg in the market, the farmers have eggs. There are two different types of eggs, right? The egg that are fertilized and the egg that is unfertilized. So the unfertilized egg doesn't have the germ of life within it. An egg just doesn't produce a chicken like that. It has to have that germ within it, the germ of life. Then the life can develop within the egg. Egg provides the nourishment, the nutrition for the chicken to develop. But the chicken has to be there in an embryo form, in a germ form. And in Sanskrit, we call it bijam. The bija means the seed. There must be a seed inside the egg. Then the egg can form the chicken. And the chicken is not really different from the egg because it has to utilize whatever is there in the egg in order to make itself. The egg the ingredients in the egg have to nurture the chicken's development, formation. So when the chicken is developed fully, all the egg inside has been consumed by the chicken, right? And the chicken comes out and there's no more, maybe some fluid or something is left. But the ingredients of the egg has basically gone into making the chicken. So the chicken and egg are very important to one another. It's not that the chicken can exist without and the egg doesn't have any importance. The egg has importance, but the chicken also has to be takes over the importance of the egg. Now we can say that the egg made the chicken because when the chicken comes out, the egg is all gone. So we say, well, the egg made the chicken, but that's not really the case because without that fertilization process going on, without that germ, the egg would have not produced anything. It would have just remained an egg. Mm. So there's a difference and there's a equivalence. The egg is equivalent to the chicken because it makes the chicken, and yet it doesn't make the chicken because it requires that seed in order for it to do anything. And the same thing happens with, if you have a very rich soil, rich ground, dirt, rich soil. It can be very dark and a lot of minerals and everything in there, and water or whatever may be needed. But it won't produce anything unless you put a seed. You have to put a seed in the soil, and then the soil can nurture the seed, and the seed will produce a plant, right? The ground won't produce anything on its own. A seed is required, and then the soil can feed the seed, and the seed can take the nourishment from the soil and utilize that soil to make itself. So we can't say that the soil produced the plant, really, although it did. The soil was needed to make the plant. It takes all the ingredients from the soil to make itself. But the seed was an essential part of the whole process, and you can't just ignore the seed and say the soil produced the plant. So this is like the chicken and egg, right? The same idea. So now when you ask the question, which came first, the person or the world? Which comes first, a person or the world? Huh? Now the person means consciousness. Person is conscious. And the world, what do we mean by the world? The world means what we are conscious of. You are conscious, and what's in your consciousness, the content of consciousness, we call the world. So what came first, the consciousness or the world? So you can't have one without the other, actually. The world is necessary in order for there to be conscious. Otherwise, what would you be conscious of? Consciousness needs an object to be conscious of something. So the world is there. That's the object of consciousness. So the world is requiring that consciousness in order to be a world, and not independent of consciousness. Okay? So consciousness and the world are also have what they call a dialectic or symbiotic relation. One is necessary for the other. And the world, we call it nature, Mother Nature. Why do we say Mother Nature? Because the world, nature is nurturing. It nurtures the seed, just like the mother. Mother can produce a baby, but not just like that. Every woman is not a mother, because the mother has the potential. A woman has the potential to become a mother if she's impregnated by the male, impregnated with the seed, the germ of life, of an individual. Then the mother serves as the nurturing medium, just like the egg or the soil serves as the medium that nurtures the individual. So we can't say that the world produces the person, because the world is necessary for the person to be who he is. It's ingredients of the world that go into making the person, no doubt. But person has to be there also, and not that he's produced by the world exactly. His construction, his attitudes, everything is received from the world. But that does not mean the world is there first, and then the person comes. The world has to be there, and the seed has to be there at least. Then we can talk about development of the person. Without the seed, we cannot talk about person just from the consciousness and the world. There must also be a seed or a soul. So that soul is necessary, that seed. The seed is called a soul in spiritual sense. That within consciousness, that gives rise to consciousness to begin with, is called a soul. And that has to be present, and that has to be cultivated. So now, in the educational system, these things are not taught, but what is the soul, and what is its importance? How does it do what it has to do? We have no knowledge of that in our modern education. So it's very important to understand these things properly. Otherwise, we get completely misdirected. People are directed toward to the world of things, the content of consciousness, without understanding what is that consciousness and that seed that produces the consciousness. What are those things, and how does that interact, and what does that have to do with the world? And then what does that have to do with the spiritual understanding of things, the soul understanding? So there's one verse, many verses in the scriptures, but one verse in the Bhagavad Gita, which gives a little bit hint about the direction and the proper understanding of these things, systematized. What is the proper way to understand? Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text 42. And Krishna is explaining to Arjuna some of these things about the body and the soul. What happened? Okay, very nice. So Krishna is telling to Arjuna, instructing him about spiritual knowledge. He says, Indriyani paranyahur indriyebhyak paramana manushastu parabudhir yobhute paratastusa. Indriyani paranyahur. Indriya means the senses, Paranyahar. Param means higher, param. Param Just like we have Atma, we have Paramatma, the higher and the lower Atma. So Indriyani Param Yahur, well, it means it's higher than the senses are higher than matter. The senses are higher than what they sense. The senses, seeing, smelling, hearing, tasting, touching. What else?
Here it is.
Huh?
Hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching. 5 senses.
5 senses, huh? They require, what do they sense? They sense matter. They sense the world. Huh? So the world, or what we call the object of the senses, the object of consciousness, that stuff that we are conscious of, we call that matter. And the senses are detecting that, are seeing that, feeling that. So the senses are for detecting that matter. Then the senses are superior to what they are sensing, right? Matter can't sense itself. It can't sense that you are there. But the senses can sense that the matter is there. So they're higher than the matter. Indriyani Paranyahur. Then it says, Indriyabhyak Paramana. But then the mana, the manas, the mind, is Indriyana Param, higher than the senses is the mind. Without the mind, the senses could not know what they're sensing. You feel, there's some feeling, there's some odor, there's some this, there's some that. These are all just, what do you call it? Input data, sensation, some data is coming into you, some information is coming. But what it is, just like you can make a robot and make a sensor on the robot, a photoelectric cell, for instance. A photoelectric cell is like an eye for the robot. And a photoelectric cell, some light comes out and it bounces off an object, and then it comes back, and the photoelectric cell says, "Oh, I received some light from that object." When the light goes to the object and it comes back to the photoelectric cell, then the object will register some electrical change. All right, so the robot then says, "Oh, I got some data, some information coming here. Some object is there in my photoelectric cell." So the body has the same way. The senses are registering some stimulus. Some stimulus is coming. But then, so what? So many stimuli are coming. Then how to make sense of all those stimuli? What are they? That's the mind. The mind is needed. In the robot, they have a computer. And when the sense thing comes in, the computer decides what to do with it. How to utilize that electrical impulse. What is the significance of it? So not only the senses, but a mind is necessary to make sense of the senses, you can say, to tell what it is, discriminate mind. But then more than that, then it's telling here, manusas tu parabudhir. But even more than the mind, manasas, para, there's something higher. And it's called buddhir. The buddhi means intelligence, intellect. So the mind is interpreting the senses, what the senses are giving. But then the intelligence is coming and saying, well, and making some discrimination as to if this, then that, if then, the consequences. The intelligence decides the consequence. If I do this, if I go this way, then that will happen. If I go this way, then I will avoid the object. If I go that way, then I will collide with the object. So if the intelligence has to be there also, mind will say that this, wait a minute, what this sense means there's something there, but the intelligence say, well, what to do with it and how to do properly with that mental decision. What type of thing to do after that? So, like the mind might say, "Oh, here's a nice ice cream, and a nice pizza, some ice cream, so many things, nice things to eat." And the intelligence says, "Okay, like if I eat all that ice cream, if I eat all that pizza, then what will happen? I may get sick or something like that. It looks very delicious, and I love those things, but if I'm not careful, then I can get very sick from eating that, and I have to eat only a certain amount or avoid or whatever, depending on the circumstances. Intelligence has to decide. So the intelligence is the consequence. If then the mind says either or, but the intelligence says if then. If I do this, then this will happen. So it tries to see not only the present situation, but the future also. It tries to make some adjustment for what will happen in the present if I just react according to the present circumstances. That's not sufficient. I might get into trouble. So the intelligence is necessary to make that discrimination very important. Then he says, but the yo budhe paratas tusa, but budhe, but the intelligence, there's something higher than that, and that is the self, the soul. So the soul is higher. The soul is the source of consciousness. Without that source of consciousness, there would be no intelligence. There would be no mind. The highest encompassing idea behind all the intelligence, mind, and everything, and the senses and the body is the consciousness. This is what Krishna is teaching to Arjuna. So where's the translation? So here he says, the working senses are superior to matter, and mind is higher than the senses. The intelligence is still higher than the mind, and he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. Okay? The source of all those things is this. Apparently, the soul. Of course, that is not the soul is finite. We are the finite consciousness. Within the soul, there's also the Paramatma. There's a higher soul, Paramatma. Paramatma means the super soul, or Krishna. And he is actually the source of all of those things. He is the source of the soul. He is the source of the mind, intelligence, and the senses, and the bodies. All right, purport. What happened to Uma Devi? Are you still there? Yes. You are
Yes,
still.
Maharaj, I'm there.
Okay.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. So the senses are different outlets for the activities of lust. Lust means what? Lust means exploitation. We want to enjoy. We want to take something from the environment, rape the environment, lust. We want to enjoy, exploit. So the senses are the outlets for the activities of exploitation, and lust or exploitation is reserved within the body, but it is given vent through the senses. So this means that the body is a reservoir, is the reservoir of all exploiting tendencies. The body is for exploitation. The body is the instrument of exploitation. What do we mean by instrument? Body is the instrument. Just like if you have a hammer, a carpenter has a hammer, right? From the hammer, does the hammer make the house? He uses the hammer to make a house, right? But does the hammer make the house? No, it's the instrument of the carpenter. Carpenter uses the hammer to make the house. In the same way, the body is an instrument that the soul is using to exploit material nature. It has the potential. The hammer has the potential to make a house if the carpenter knows how to use it. That whole potential is there. Potential, the hammer won't do it by itself, but is potentially able to do it if the carpenter uses it properly. In the same way, the body is there as potentially used for exploiting the material nature. Like I said, material nature means what is the object of consciousness? What is objective to consciousness? That's what we call the world. And the body is utilized by the soul for interacting with that world, and through the senses, it tries to exploit. It goes to the world and wants to eat it, wants to take it and hold it and mold it and form it and store it and do so many things with it for its own selfish purposes. This self-purpose is called exploitation. So therefore, the senses are superior to the body as a whole. These outlets are not in use when there is superior consciousness or Krishna consciousness. So in Krishna consciousness, the senses are not utilized for exploitation, for exploiting the world. In Krishna consciousness, something happens to the senses. What happens? So in Krishna consciousness, the soul makes direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the hierarchy of bodily functions, in other words, the senses, the mind, intelligence, so forth, the hierarchy, as described here, ultimately ends in the Supreme Soul. So bodily action means the functions of the senses, and stopping the senses means stopping all bodily actions. But since the mind is active, then even though the body may be silent, may be at rest, the mind will still act as it does during dreaming. But above the mind is the determination of the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul proper. If therefore the soul is directly engaged with the Supreme, naturally all other subordinate, namely the intelligence, mind, and senses, will be automatically engaged. In the Katha Upanishad, there's a similar passage in which it said the objects of sense gratification are superior to the senses, and the mind is superior to the sense objects. If, therefore, the mind is directly engaged in the service of the Lord constantly, then there is no chance that the senses will become engaged in other ways. So the mental attitude has already been explained here. Param Drisva Nivartante. Param Drisva Nivartante means by Param Drisva means the higher taste. If the mind gets a higher taste, if the mind can be absorbed in some higher pleasure than the senses, then something happens. The mental attitude can change. Just like we give the example of a child. When a child is holding his toy, it's very hard to take the toy away from the child. You ever do that with a child? Try to take something from the child's hand. He will hold on it very, very hard. And then you can't get it out. And if you try to take it out, he'll cry. But let's say you have a nice shiny balloon or a lollipop or something like that, and you show that to the child. Whatever he's holding, immediately he'll drop that. Immediately he drops it. And he takes the balloon or he takes the lollipop, right? And you can take whatever he was holding in his hand. So in Sanskrit, this is called Param Drisva Nivartante. Means the higher taste. By getting the higher taste, then the lower taste, lower thing, will be given up very naturally. So if the mind is engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, there's no chance of his being engaged in the lower propensities. In the Katha Upanishad, the soul has been described as Mahan, the great. Therefore, the soul is above all, namely the senses, the objects, the sense objects, the senses, the mind, and the intelligence. Therefore, directly understanding the constitutional position of the soul is the solution to the whole problem. So this is the important part, to understand that the person and the world, person is more important than the world even. Not that the world is not important, but the person holds a superior role. He has the most significant role to play in his own development. And he should not be dependent only upon the world for his satisfaction. That will be some type of satisfaction, but in an exploitative way. So he has to withdraw from that, but not to withdraw from that in the spirit of renunciation. You think, well, you're in this world, you can enjoy this world, and what is the opposite of that? To renounce it, no, to become an aesthetic. But no, that's not what the Gita, that's not what Krishna is telling Arjuna. He says you can't do that. Even you try to keep the body still, the senses, silence the senses and everything. The mind will keep acting, and it'll keep desiring. Desiring will remain there within the heart, and your dream and all these other things. So that's no way to stop all this activity of the mind and the senses. The only thing that Krishna is recommending here is, instead of this exploitation mentality, and instead of the renunciation mentality, you take up the mentality of devotion, of love, of dedication. Love for who? Then not for, if not for this material, the world, then for what? So the soul has this object of love, and that is called Krishna, Supreme Paramatma, the Supreme Atma, Paramatma. That is a higher love, higher engagement of the soul. And by cultivating these lower propensities of the soul for exploitation, he cannot know he'll never know about his higher functions and the higher world. So Krishna is here directing Arjuna into this higher dimension. To you consider this higher plane of engagement and give up your obsession with this lower existence. So with intelligence, one has to seek out the constitutional position of the soul and then engage the mind always in Krishna consciousness. That solves the whole problem. A neophyte spiritualist is generally advised to keep aloof from the objects of the senses. But aside from that, one has to strengthen the mind by use of intelligence. And by intelligence, one engages one's mind in Krishna consciousness by complete surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then automatically the mind becomes an inch stronger, and even though the senses are very strong, like serpents, they will no more be effective than serpents with their fangs broken. But even then, though the soul is the master of the intelligence and the mind and the senses, also, still, unless it is strengthened by association with Krishna in Krishna consciousness, there's every chance of falling down due to the agitated mind. So this is very a difficult process. We have a lot of responsibility when we want to develop our spiritual consciousness. And a lot is up to us also. We can get help from the devotees, from the activities of devotional service, from the processes, the scriptures. So many different means are there to help us develop this higher consciousness. But it's all ultimately up to us also to take up this process very sincerely and seriously. And by the use of our proper intelligence, we don't say blindly, you have to follow these things. No, with sheer intensity, seriousness, we have to try to understand these things, think about these things, and try to follow what our intelligence will discover in this higher plane. So it is just meant to give some indication which direction to go in. Orientation. Bhagavad Gita, I see Bhagavad Gita as orientation. A compass. Bhagavad Gita is like a compass. And this compass is the way, by following the compass needle, you can find what is the proper direction you want to go in. So otherwise, the compass shows all directions, right? North, south, east, west. But then the needle is only pointing in one direction. So Bhagavad Gita shows us all the directions. It shows us the direction of exploitation. It shows the direction of renunciation. And it shows the direction of devotion, dedication. Exploitation, renunciation, dedication. North, south, east, west, these all the different directions we can go in. So without proper understanding of life, people are going in the direction of exploitation. And once they become burned out, you can say, by trying to enjoy themselves so much that they become completely distressed and burned out, then they try renunciation, the Buddhist like the Buddhists. Oh, give everything up. This world is a terrible place. I'm only getting distress here. And they try to give up everything. So there's two directions, exploitation, and then the opposite, the antithesis, renunciation. But Krishna is saying, no, there's another direction. Not only exploitation, not only renunciation, but there's also the direction of dedication, of devotion. And that comes from a different plane. That is the plane of Krishna consciousness. The soul is neither to exploit, nor it is to enjoy or renounce. It is to dedicate, it is to love. His function is to love Krishna, to love God. And in that way he will become satisfied and happy. This is how the things work. Bhagavad Gita is such a great work of knowledge and of love. Here Krishna is giving in his fullest expression, full and direct instruction from his own self. If you look at the Bhagavad Gita, I think that here in this book, what the book is saying here, this is God talking. The only book where God is talking directly. Krishna is saying, I am. Aham sarvasya prabhu. I am the source of everything. So many things. I love you, and you are to surrender to me. This relationship there is one of love, and you must always remember me and fix your mind on me. Krishna directly is talking to us in Bhagavad Gita. So when you pick up the Bhagavad Gita, you're talking directly with Krishna, or Krishna is talking directly with you. And to take those instructions seriously and thoughtfully, intelligently, that is the greatest use of our intelligence possible. We take instructions from so many people. We read this book and that book by this person and that person, and we learn so many things. But what if you had a book in which God is directly speaking? This is God talking to you. Then what do you do? Do you think, oh, this is just another book? And put it down on the side while you read all these other books? No, we can't hold it in the same level as other. We should take it most seriously and see what it is saying and try to follow what it is saying as the most important instruction in our whole life. The person and the world. One philosopher I was listening to, he was talking about the different philosophies of the mind, of consciousness. He said that the philosophers and the scientists have all come up in the recent times with different theories about what consciousness is. And he counted somewhere 325 plus theories of consciousness. And none of them included the one conception of Krishna consciousness that unites all these different varieties. Just like the story of the elephant and the blind man, The blind men are blind and they're touching the elephant at different places, and they don't know it's an elephant. They can't see the whole picture. They only get little parts. Somebody's holding the tail. Oh, this is a rope. Somebody's holding the leg, and oh, this is a tree trunk. And like this. They don't get the whole picture. So these people, the scientists, the philosophers, they're getting little parts here and there and giving their theories. But they don't realize what is the whole. And they can't put it together. They have 300 theories, and they can't put it together. What does it all mean? Who is a materialist? who's an idealist, who's a dualist, this, that, the other thing. Then what to make of that whole, what do you call that? Panoply, whole
Cacophony.
cacophony.
Yeah.
What to make of that? Everyone's saying something different. Is there somewhere where all those differences are harmonized? Is there something that is holding them all together within itself? How is that possible? That all these contradictory points of view are being subsumed by some higher thing? What is that higher? And that is Krishna. That is Krishna. Within all these different ideas are being maintained and being produced and being harmonized, being gathered together. That is the unity that they are all seeking. That is the ultimate theory, the ultimate conception, the absolute truth, in which all these differences are accommodated. They're all accommodating the infinite. They are all found there in Krishna. And they don't realize by going after this idea and that idea, they're only touching some part of some greater thing. Of that greater thing, they don't know what it is. But Krishna is coming to tell us, me, I am there. And all these different ideas that are coming from me, whatever. Aham sarvasya prabhu. I am the creator. Every soul, every thought, every world, every whatever it may be, every atom is coming from me. This is the oldest conception in human civilization. The Vedas have always taught that the person comes first. The person comes before the universe. Which comes first, the person or the universe? The scientists say the universe came first and then the person comes. No, Vedas don't tell us that. Krishna says, I am the source of the universe. Vedanta says, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Brahma is the source. Brahma means consciousness. Consciousness is the source of what it is conscious of. Consciousness is producing its own objects of consciousness. And Bhagavatam also says, Abhigyasvarat. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Janmadasya yaton vayadi taratas sharteshu abhigyasvarat. It says everything is coming from this abhigyasvarat. Abhigya means of the cognitive being. Abhigya, who is independent cognitive being. Everything is being produced from there. So Vedas have always told that the person comes first, and only since the time of the Renaissance, a couple of hundred years ago, that science became a challenge. It came to challenge those ideas and say, no, it's not God, it's the universe came first. And Darwin came first. Darwin says you came as the rocks that are first, the fossils, and you came from there. No, that is not correct. A lower thing cannot produce the higher. Only the higher can produce something that is lower than itself, less than itself. We would not expect that kind of logic to ever become prominent, and yet it has. Modern science is a illogical development of spirit by trying to put the rocks first, and then comes the consciousness. Uh, the egg comes before the chicken, but eggs don't produce chicken. It's the germ within the egg that produces the chicken, and the earth does not produce the living entity. It's that germ within the earth, the souls, that produce the living entity. And the earth, nature, is just to nurture that. That's why we call it nature, Mother Nature. We call the world Mother Nature. Why? Because it is meant to nurture the life. Mother, just like the mother nurtures the baby, mother doesn't produce the baby on her own. She only nurtures the baby. And likewise, Mother Nature, she nurtures the living entity. But you need the Father, the seed-giving Father. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham Pita, Aham Bija. I am the Father, I am the seed-giving Father, into which Mother Nature receives the seed of the living entity and thus becomes Mother Nature. So these scientists are very foolish. They think Mother Nature can do everything on her own without the Father. And they forget the Father, God, out of the picture. And only they think of the molecules interacting to produce everything. And foolishness. They don't understand. This is called ignorance, tamagun, and living entity can become captivated by that ignorance. And in Sanskrit, they call it maya, illusion. Somehow the living entities become illusion because we are finite. We don't understand things, the infinite things properly. It's very difficult for us to understand things in their proper order, proper context. And so Maya, illusion comes, and then it carries away the living entity into so many different fabricated ideas. One philosopher named Schopenhauer, he said, the world is my idea. Well, this is my idea. Yes, that's what happens. We fabricate an idea about what reality is in our minds. But who are we? Our minds are fabricating some idea. But we are finite minds. We're so prone to illusion and mistakes and so many different errors. We can't know properly. But when we create some whole conception of the world in our mind, an idea, we have some way of checking ourselves. We have to find some way to check. What is that idea? Is it correct or is it not correct? I wrote that book, Idols of the Mind versus True Reality. That's the scientist's business, is they create these idols, these false realities, fabricated truths, fabricated ideas within their mind. It's like this, it's like that. And then they believe that. That is idol worship. Idol means you create some false god from your own ideas, and you worship that as the truth. That is not how we find truth, and not how we come to understand things properly. It is not a matter of concocting some idea about the world, about reality within your own mind. It will never lead us in a proper way. It will mislead us into delusion and ignorance. So Bhagavad Gita, the song of God. Bhagavad means Bhagavan Krishna, and Gita means song. The song of God. Krishna is singing to us directly. He is speaking to us directly. It's like this. I am the source. Aham sarvasya prabhu. I am the origin of everything. The Purusha, Govindamadi Purusham. Purusha comes first, and then the world comes as a result of his desires. His idea is different from our idea. Whatever Krishna's idea of the world is, that becomes manifest. Our ideas, well, we're not quite in that position that we can create our own world, our universe from our ideas. Although some people are doing that. They try to do that. The scientists, like I said, they have created their own world with molecules and this, that, and the other thing. And DNA and RNA and lasers and atomic bombs. And so many things they have created. And it seems, oh, this must be the reality. Because we're influenced by all these things. But Krishna is saying, no, stop. You've got it all backwards. You're living in a deluded existence. Try to correct your thinking, your intelligence. Try to see things more clearly and properly. So it's very nice. Bhagavad Gita is such a merciful display of the Lord's grace, of the Lord's sweetness, of the Lord's love, of his concern for us. Difficult to do, to change the consciousness from mundane to Krishna consciousness. Not an easy job. And of course, we have to be willing. We have to at least give our sanction, our willingness, as we call it, surrender. Must allow his words, his ideas, his knowledge to influence us, to guide and direct and form our own understanding. That is surrender, and the meaning of it. Allow your heart to change. Don't stay fixed like a rock in your own ideas. Open up your heart and at least listen to what God has to say. No, we won't listen to anyone, including Krishna. We're so stubborn with our own ideas. There is something else. So this stubbornness, this ego, here is the roadblock. That is the main roadblock. And so the saints are advising us, give up this ego. That is called surrender. Become soft-hearted. Not that you become stupid or blind or anything like that. And only faith is there. It must be intelligent also. You must do this with a clearer vision. So Krishna is giving here so many examples to clarify. So much instruction. So that we may not have to think that only blindly we have to follow. That surrender somehow means blind to yourself, blind your intelligence, annul your intelligence. No, not at all. You have to utilize it to its highest degree. Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
So I think we have any question or comment. Ingo, how are you doing?
Hello.
Oh,
Good. Therese had to leave. She has to go do something, so she had to leave.
okay.
She didn't want to interrupt you,
It's okay.
but I'm good. It's a beautiful day out. Sun is shining.
Yes.
The birds are flying around outside.
Yeah.
The blue jays are back and forth and all over the place.
Huh?
Blue jays.
What's it?
Blue jays, the kinds of
Oh,
birds.
blue jays, yes. Yes, we were seeing yesterday also. I was outside in the backyard. So many different types of birds are coming.
Yeah, this backyard here is beautiful. There's so many birds that fly around, and we have a couple of critters that we're not sure what they are. One looks like it could be a beaver. And there's this other little thing lately that's been running around. We don't know what it is because you can't get near to them. But it's just, I mean, it's just like a little park in the backyard. I love it.
Wonderful. Yes. Krishna's beautiful nature.
Yes. That we can agree upon. Nature is beautiful.
So anything else I can say? Anyone wants to say?
Not for me.
Mama Devi, I'm always praying that you will be okay.
Yes, Maharaj, I'm fine, Maharaj. Thank you.
Uh,
By your grace, I'm okay, Maharaj.
all right. My humble dandavats to everyone. Jai Gurudev,
Dandavad pranam.
Jai Vaishnavi,
Jai.
Jai,
Jai.
Jai Gol Premanandi, Hari 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 Bol.
Hari Bol. Jai
Hari
Bro.
Mahamsa Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai. Dandavad pranam, Maharaj.
Dhanyavad.